Happy Sunday, everybody. Listen, let's talk about podcasting, y'all. I just want to come on really quick. I promise y'all, I won't be long. I promise you. All right, let me get this mic. I won't be long. I promise you. All right, here we go. Sometimes this mic gets all the way in my shirt, but I hope you guys can hear me really good. Let me just do this test really quick. But I listen, if you follow me, you know I don't try to talk as much, real like long a length of time. I just want to come on really quick and I want to talk about topic. Hey sis Sandra. But all right, so I want to talk about podcasting. And by the way, I am in Savannah, and this week, this Thursday, I will be in Savannah at the City of Savannah Entrepreneur Center. It's going to be a hybrid event, and I am teaching a podcasting class to teach you how to get started, giving you some methods or topics. It will be this Thursday. Now, you can find it. You can either go on my page and search, or just go to the City of Savannah Entrepreneur Center tab, and you can go to their website and you can sign up, and it's free. So if you have are curious about podcasting, getting started, how to get started, all those amazing things, I'm going to teach you the one-on-one to podcasting. And so that's going to be this Thursday in Savannah. It's going to be a hybrid event. So that means if you can't make the in-person, it is available virtually as well. So yeah, happy Sunday. I hope everybody is well. Check in. Let me know how you doing. Hi. Listen, y'all, I got this big black screen. My goal was I was supposed to put something on the screen, but I just got off a prayer call meeting. And so I just hopped on here. I wanted to talk earlier, but had actually had a couple people here for a meeting. So I didn't have as much time to prepare. But listen, happy Sunday, y'all. And I put a post on my personal page, and the topic or post was, if you're going to start a podcast, have something to say. So I wanted to talk about that, and elaborate on that. By the way, big shout out. Sis Sandra, if you still on, tag D. This is one of his shirts. I believe, have faith, pray hard, stay humble. I believe so. So tag him, give a shout out, tell him to put his link up, Cash App or something, for others to support as well. But I love the shirt, love the mission, have faith, pray hard, stay humble. So this is what I want to talk about, right? If you are having a podcast, have something to say. I took a few notes, and for those who might not know what a podcast is, it's simple. Like a podcast is an audio form. It's like to me, if I was to describe it, its format is similar to a radio show, but the difference with the radio and podcasting is that this audio is an on demand. So you can actually have your guests or your audience to go back and listen to the audios. They can share it out. You can embed them to your website. Some great things I'll be sharing this week about some great things that you can do. But if I was to describe what it is, then that is the definition. I would definitely say is more a convenient way, because it's on demand versus a regular live radio show. But let me say this: a podcast is audio, 100% audio. Now I've seen where people have got the two mixed up with podcasting and vodcast. Vodcast is a video podcast, meaning you have a podcast, but you mix video with it. So similar to, say, I can have my mic, right, I do plan to do some more like broadcasting stuff, but I can set up my podcast mic, bring it here. You guys can still see me, but I can also have that available on my podcast platforms like Shopify, like Spotify, Google Podcasting, and what I can do, or Apple. Some of you guys may have been familiar with like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasting, Spotify. So how I can do that is have that audio set for those platforms, those audio platforms, and I can have my video like this on social media, YouTube, etc. So that is what you call a vodcast, because you're mixing a video with your podcast. But podcast, Podcast, is audio. And so I posted, if you're going to start a podcast, have something to say. And I want to just share with you, podcast is you are providing some form of knowledge, some form of education. Now, your format can be, creative or innovative, where you may bring people on, you may be a guest, bring on a guest, you may go to someone's business establishment, or, you can do it a creative way. But ultimately, the podcast, the goal and the objective of a podcast is knowledge. Is you as an expert, or bringing on experts, because you may want to, bring on some experts, and that's fine too. But usually the goal of a podcast, the theme, or let me say the culture of a podcast, is that you are the expert, or you bringing some form of blessings, my Ghana. You're bringing some form of knowledge to a audio wave, or streaming an audio of knowledge to an audience. And so that's the culture of a podcast. And so knowing the culture of a podcast, that will be your baseline. Like, what is the knowledge? What story am I sharing here? Because an average culture of a podcast is knowledge, is expertise, is stories, is being more detailed, more conversational. And so that's why you'll find that some podcasts hosts will bring on other guests, because it's a conversational. It's not, you may have a one person. In fact, I've done a couple of podcasts where it was just myself. I was sharing knowledge on business, and also just sharing overall knowledge about technology and tech equipment. And that was the goal. But that was still the culture of the podcast, to share some information. And so this is why the culture of the podcast. Okay, this is why I wanted to just make everyone aware and let you guys know this is the culture of podcasting. The culture of podcasting is that it is an audio of information. Now, however you want to format it, or be innovative or creative, that is the basic culture of a podcast. So that means even the audience of a podcast, they are expecting some form of knowledge, or maybe of stories. That's how that's why I believe the podcast industry really took off, because what podcasts, from my personal or professional opinion, I believe what podcasts allowed, what it has brought and allowed all of us to experience, is stories and more information. And sometimes with just a pop and go live, people see, some people, you may miss it. You may sometimes miss a conversation or information Sometimes, not all the times, but sometimes, because some people can be distracted with video, what's happening, maybe the background, or and vice versa. Hey, Gary from LinkedIn. How are you doing, my brother, my NC brother? And so you'll find that what audio allows you to do is just give that information directly. There's no distraction with video. It's just 100% audible, unless you go vodcast, of course, or you can say, if you want, if you like podcasting, with video. But what podcasting allows you to do is allows you to be more detailed and direct, but with audio. And so this is why I believe podcasting really took off at some point, because, and even now is great, because there's a component with business that a lot of even small business owners don't do. And that's being authentic. And you can be more authentic, I believe, with podcasting. You can be more detailed when it comes to podcasting. Hi, Melvin. You could be more detailed when it comes to podcasting. And so this is why I believe podcasting is great for small businesses, and also even in ministry, because you can give a more in-depth with stories, more in-depth with testimonials, and you may not can do that all in just a simple live or a simple just video, because that audio, people who are audible, they're listening out for something. They're listening out for information and knowledge. And so you have a whole demographic of audience of people that are audible people. They want to listen to something. They want to get a latest trend or a latest story, a latest news of something, of information. And so that's why I believe podcasting is great. So let me say this, when it comes to when I posted about having something to say, I want to make sure that when you're starting a podcast, you're very clear, that you have clarity on why you start a podcast. You do not want to just start a podcast and not have clarity on why you started. Because if not, you'll be all over the place and not certain of who your audience is. You want to know that. That's what you want to be clear. You want to make sure that you're very clear. And when you're starting a podcast, it's very important that you understand what you're going to share, and so that you can communicate that to your audience. If you're clear of this is why I'm going to start this podcast, you'll be so clear, and your audience will understand that when they're listening and subscribing to that podcast, they are subscribing to that podcast for this thing. Whatever this thing is, right? You may tell stories, right? You may have testimonials, but being very clear and I was gonna say strategic too, but be very clear of what you're going to say. Don't just start a podcast because it is the trend, or it is just the right thing to do, or the best thing to do with your business or your ministry. But make sure that you have something to say, because there's a difference. A podcast audience is different than your average. You're just going to post something. Sometimes we could just post something randomly, and we post it, and okay, we're going on to the next thing. But when you have an audience that are listening out for something, that podcast audience is different from someone who's actually going to scroll from a social media post. Those are two different audiences. And so this is why I wanted to, come on and just kind of elaborate on the difference between the audience, and just to encourage you to make sure that you have a step and be very, very clear on, why you're going to create your podcast and have something to say. I think it's hey, Pastor Gillum. I think it's very important when you're very clear on why you're doing a certain thing, so that your listeners will know, hey, this is a podcast I've been wanting, because they understand this information is going to be given on this podcast. So that means every episode should fall in line with the goal of the podcast. So there's the podcast title and description, and there's also episodes. The episodes fall under the whole entire meaning and goal objective of the podcast. And so each episode should fall in line or goal of the whole entire objective of the podcast. That means if you bring on a guest, the entire mission of, and let me say this, every podcast should have a mission. Okay. All right. So that means every episode should fall under that mission. If your mission is to gain, to gather stories, or to gather testimonials, or to gather stories of business owners, to get whatever your goal may be, or to share a certain knowledge, then everything under that, every person you bring on, their brand, their culture, everything should fall under the mission of that podcast. And it should be very clear and very detailed. Thank you so much, my dear brother, my NC brother. Yeah, have a mission of the podcast. My sister, I agree. Make sure we have something to say. And I posted that earlier on my post, on my page, my personal page. And it was, if you're going to start a podcast, have something to say. And yes, every podcast episode should have the mission. So what I'm saying is every podcast episode should align with the mission of the podcast. That's what I mean, that every episode, because that's still a part of the podcast. Every episode should fall in alignment of the entire podcast mission. And so when you're clear about that, then, you'll bring on experts, or you'll have conversations that match the mission of that podcast. So it's different, because this is what, my personal and professional opinion. So with, and I'm thinking, like, with the difference of social media and podcasting, the audience is different. Now with podcasting, if you're getting someone to subscribe, and I think it can be some similarities, but I think for the most part, when you're getting someone to subscribe, or encouraging people to subscribe to your podcast, those people who are they're waiting to listen to some information, something of value. That's what I put. If you're going to start a podcast, have something valuable to say. So that means if you're encouraging people to subscribe to your podcast and those episodes that, that are forthcoming, then when you have your podcast episode and it launches, when they subscribe, they get the alert that you have a new podcast episode. Reason why I say have something to say, because, these are a different audience. Podcast audience is not the same, in my opinion. A podcast audience is not the same as your typical person that follows you on your Facebook page, right? It's a whole nother world, of audience. The audience is different. And so this is why I mentioned about, having something valuable to say, because, if you just going to just have a podcast just because someone started one or just because it's someone said you should, then most times there's no clarity in that. Like, you have to be clear and be very purposeful. Here's another thing, and I'll be gone. I told y'all this is gonna be quick. All right. Here's another thing I feel that people with podcasts, I think every podcast needs a podcast manager, someone who's going to manage it, right? So even if you don't have the budget for someone to manage it, I think having you get on that role as a host to make sure that it's managed correctly. And I say correctly meaning, because all podcasts gonna be different. All right, I get that. But what I mean, like, manage, making sure that every episode is aligned with the mission of the podcast. Making sure that, maybe there's like a gap, or, making sure that say there's a gap in with the podcast, or a specific episode, and making sure that it flows, keeping the conversation going, whether you're doing it yourself or you have a guest that's with you, making sure that there's some consistency with the marketing. You gotta spread the word when you have a podcast, right? That's one of the things that one of the services we do at Loma Creative Services. If you need help with that, like, don't just have a podcast and no one knows the episode is dropping, or you had a podcast and nobody knows that you have an upcoming episode and the other episodes already available on download, right? For download. Like, it's like you just spoke for nothing. You want to make sure that the message gets out to the group of people that needs to hear the message. And I think that's overall from any dynamic of anything that you want to do. For some reason, sometimes we as small business owners think that marketing is like a disease. No, you need marketing. Like, if you're going to have a product or service, or you're going to launch something, you shouldn't want to be the only person to know about it. And so marketing is an important piece of value of your business, your podcast, your whatever you may do, your brand in general. And speaking of brand, a podcast is still a brand. When you launch a podcast, you have launched a brand. Okay. When you have launched a podcast, you have launched a brand. So keep that in mind. And that's what I mean by with each of your episodes should align with the mission, which is, also the brand of, like, the goal. Branding is not just an image. Branding is mission. What people think of when they hear of this podcast. All of that is also a brand. So keep that in mind. I just wanted to, share that when I posted, I wanted to give more detail or I guess, the meat part of my post, that when you have started a podcast, please have something to say. So this is what I wanted to share too, is that when you first start your podcast, make sure that you have a brief introduction. I usually start our clients when they come to the office. And they have they're starting their podcast. I usually start after, of course, the initial consultation, gather more information. We have a plan in place, the mission of the podcast, all of those great things, right? Once all of that is done, we discover the audience, where the audience is going to be, all of those amazing things. When they come in to do their initial recording, I usually start with just a welcome / introduction podcast, so that even when people will hear other episodes, they may still say, okay, let me just see, what's this podcast about? I can hear it from the episodes, but let me just hear from the host. Let me learn more about the host. Let me learn more about the just the description, the overall, as I mentioned before, the mission of the podcast. And so that's important. That is very important, especially also when there's a gap between the intro and the very first episode. Now, some you may, decide to do it together, the intro and the very first podcast. But ultimately, I would say definitely start with the intro. Welcome everyone to your podcast. Just let them know, what they can expect what they can expect when listening to your podcast, when subscribing. I've heard this when people were like, subscribe to my podcast. And I'm like, what are we subscribing to? So be very clear. Don't just say, subscribe. I hear that a lot. Like even for YouTube, I hear people say, subscribe to my YouTube, and never share in depth or any detail of what we're subscribing for. What can we expect? That's just like asking people to, subscribe to some kind of workout plan. Okay, what am I going to get for this workout plan? Like, am I going to get some hands-on, or is this video? Like, what am I subscribing to here? So keep that in mind when you are soliciting people to take up some of their time to subscribe and listen to. Listen, that's people time. And I was sharing with someone the other day, I believe now the attention span is 8 seconds, maybe a little less now, okay, by minute. But the attention span is 8 seconds. So with that in mind, when you're asking someone or soliciting someone to subscribe to something, be very clear, meaning, let them know. I'm going to give you an example. Subscribe. When you subscribe to this podcast, you can expect to hear some thriving, successful stories of some entrepreneurs who once lost at a time, but now, you could say how they're resilient, they're successful, they went through some challenging, but now they have overcame their obstacles. You can let them know this is what to expect. This is what they can look forward to when they are subscribing. So, make sure that you're very clear about that. If not, you're just going to be an average podcaster who people just see saying subscribe. Like almost everyone is saying that, hey, follow my podcast. But what are we following? And what's the purpose of me following? So just be very clear. Be very clear that, yes, thank you, TikTok and Shorts, for this new attention span. Yes, I'm telling you, it is. I just did a teaching, bruh, on Reels. Like, it is so true. Listen, let me show you right here. I just did a teaching on it. Let's talk Reels. I was talking about the importance of it and the benefits of them because they're so short and quick, and it helps even for those who have short attention span. So yes, trust me, I know. I just did a teaching on it. In fact, I have. You guys can download it also on lomantraining.net. So yeah, trust me, I got the teaching on it. It's so true. It is so true. Thank you, my sister. My sister is on. Happy Sunday, everybody. Miss Georgette, see you again. So I just wanted to talk because I did a post on my page about if you start a podcast, please have something of value to say. So I wanted to elaborate on that and give some tips, and also invite you to, well, you guys are welcome. Okay. Inviting you guys to this Thursday. I am grateful for the partnership of the City of Savannah Entrepreneur Center. I'll be doing a teaching this Thursday. It's hybrid. I'll be in person, but it's also available virtually as well. And I'm going to teach you how to start your podcast, and not only start your podcast, but and it's free, y'all. It's totally free. Big shout out to the City of Savannah Entrepreneur Center. It is free, so you can come in and if you have questions, I'll be there not only to help you with starting a podcast, but helping you with topics and the basics of starting the podcast, more than just starting it. Like, I got it up and I think I got something to say, but no, I'm going to give some great tips as I did today. I pray it was somewhat helpful. Somehow you got something out of this message on tonight. And yeah, this is why I wanted to come on, because I feel this information is so vital, especially for those who have great messaging, they have a lot to say, but just don't know how to bring it about. And sometimes with podcasting, you may feel a little nervousness too, because it's like, oh man, it's just my voice. I just gotta talk about something. And so I'll teach you guys about guidelines and just some key points that's important when it comes to podcasting as well. Just those basic steps, but important steps. And I'll be teaching that on this Thursday for free, guys. So make sure that you go on the City of Savannah Entrepreneur Center and get that information to register for free. So yeah, that's what I meant when I said, when you launch it, please have something to say. So there, I had some notes here. I was talking about the podcasting, the brief and introduction, how that's important. And also, I think one of the importance of podcasting, or the value of podcasting, is that you get to be authentic. The authenticity of podcasting is like mind blowing. You can open up, it's a conversational, but yet, there's a knowledge piece with podcasting that I feel other platforms you can do, but I just think that's podcasting culture and lane that you can give more of an in-depth of information with podcasting. So for those who want to start podcasting, I think it's a great thing. However, to what I'm saying now is, I think, it's a great thing, but make sure you know the culture of podcasting, and that, you have something of value to say. Like, you could be a business owner and get a podcast, and I've seen this happen too, and have nothing to say. Share with people what they can expect with your podcast. What's the goal and the mission of your podcast? And be very clear, so that when you're asking people to connect, subscribe, be guests on the podcast, they're clear on the purpose and the mission of the podcast. So this is why I believe getting the information like I'm giving this Thursday is vital, so that when you are launching your podcast, you're very detailed on, this is why I'm starting the podcast. This is the purpose and the mission of the podcast. And even everyone that I'm bringing on as guests will fall under the mission and the purpose of this podcast. Every episode will be aligned with the mission and the purpose of the podcast. So yeah, this is, I'm excited. I'm excited about the partnership with City of Savannah, Savannah Entrepreneur Center, to share about podcasting. This is their very first workshop with podcasting, like their very first podcasting workshop. I was so humbled to teach it to the staff of the City of Savannah Entrepreneur Center first. I had to teach them first. And so every time I get an opportunity like that, it's always a humbling experience. And I thank God for that opportunity. So I'm excited this Thursday. I love teaching. I love sharing knowledge. I love making sure that we can, as entrepreneurs, as people, business owners, ministries, I love supporting and helping those in ministry as well, in the marketplace, ministry and marketplace. I love making sure, that's my passion, like one of my passions, to make sure that we grow as a people. And, people as a whole, that we grow with knowledge, and we excel with every part of our life, not just, not just here and our businesses are not growing. No, all areas of our life. And so I'm grateful for opportunities like that where I can teach about podcasting, and other topics. Yeah, I'm so grateful, Miss Georgia. I'm so happy about it. Yeah, you do. Thank you so much for all you do to better Divine Rest. Oh, thank you. I love Divine Rest Inc. Great. It was so great to see you guys today. So yeah, so this is why I wanted to come on today to talk to you guys about podcasting, the purpose of podcasting, the meaning of podcasting. And even if you started a podcast, I hope that this was something that kind of still was like, okay, let me see, I might need to retweak some things, and that's okay. Revamping is okay. And realignment is okay. I think, woman of God, how are you and Bishop doing? I sent Bishop a friend request today. I'm like, why he ain't my friend with his new page? So yeah, hey, woman of God. So yeah, it's my passion. Look, y'all need to get me over to Emmanuel. It's been a minute since I trained. I need to get over there and talk about some AI. I got some new stuff I want to share with y'all, Pastor, woman of God. So let's make it happen. I got some new stuff I want to talk about. We got VR, we got AR, we got AI, we got so much stuff to talk about. So let's get that training. Let's get it working. Send Bishop this video. Bishop, let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. Let's listen. It's so much that I want to share. But listen, this is it, y'all. I'm about to go. I just wanted to come on. Do nonprofits have? Yes, I think it's perfect for a nonprofit to have a podcast. Just have a mission, this is the mission of, you could say this is the mission and the purpose. Have the mission and the purpose of it. Be very clear on the podcast. I think it's a great, innovative and creative way where entrepreneurs, business owners, nonprofits, ministries can, share that vital information, bring on other partners, sponsors, collaborative people, teams. I think it's an innovative and creative way to have information and knowledge. I really think podcasts is a really great thing. So don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, I think we need to understand the culture of podcasting and what is meant for. So that's just like getting a podcast and you on it, people like, yes, glory to God. No, podcast is more, informational knowledge. Have something of value to say on the podcast. It's more knowledgeable. It's more of a knowledgeable platform. And like I said earlier, it's more of a radio platform, but it's more like a radio on demand. So yeah, just the culture, knowing the culture, mission, and the mission of the podcast, that knowing that helps you tremendously. I'm definitely going to implement some of these skills with my podcast. I love it. Yes, sis, I hope you can join either virtually or in person this Thursday. This Thursday, for those who are just coming on, I was sharing that this Thursday. I keep saying this Thursday, and I'm not sharing with you guys the time. Hi, Carmela. Thank you for watching. I see you on. Hi, Miss Jerry. I see that you're on. Carmela, I sent you an email, and I hope you got it. Thank you for your order, Coach. So I keep saying, all right, it's 6 o'clock, y'all. And I was saying and not really knowing, not sure. I wasn't sure if it was 6 or 6:30. I had to look at my calendar. So it is 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock this Thursday, the city of Savannah, Savannah Entrepreneur Center, 6 p.m. I'll be in person at the building, Savannah Entrepreneur Center. But it's hybrid, which means if you don't come in person, you can also join virtually online. So yeah, I'm going to try join virtually. Yes. Awesome. Yes. Great. So yeah, let me put these up here. But yeah, and again, big shout out to D, my nephew D with the shirt. Have faith, pray hard, stay humble. That's it right there. Yes. So big shout out. So yeah, this is what I wanted to share, making sure that you have something of value to say. Value people time. And with podcasting, that's most people are listening to podcasts on the go. Most people, the audience of people who are listening to podcasts either on the go or they're working out. That's like the statistics of podcasting. It's a culture podcast. Most people are listening on the go. And so, this is one of the reasons why too, you must have something to say. People have already taken out a few minutes on the go to listen to information. So just make sure you have a good, making yours short. Yes, please. That's awesome. That's great. Making it short, because the average audience of podcasts, they're on the go. And so you want to keep that in mind. So that's some things that I'll be talking about this Thursday of getting started. And for those who, you need to know the very basics. Like, I'll be also covering, I have a bag of some stuff I plan to bring for those who have questions about equipment. Speaking of that, all right, you may not know, we have an Amazon product store. And on our website, LomanCreatorServices.com, you can see there's an Amazon tab. You can click on that and it'll take you to our Amazon store. So we actually, the products that I share about, like today I was live on Amazon and I was talking about this mic here. So even if you want to go in there, I was talking about this mic, why I use this mic. I was talking about the features on it. So just those basics. I plan to this Thursday talk about mics if you are interested on even getting mics and stuff. But if you are not going to be there, you may just join virtually, or you can't join at all. I want to encourage you, just go on our website. If you have been curious about mics that you can use for podcasting, maybe you were curious about some cameras or some mixers, I have all of that for you. In fact, I think I have a podcast tab on my Amazon store. So yeah, that's available for people who might not know. We are Amazon partners. So we do have Amazon shop page. If you do have questions or concern about some products, we have that available on our store, Amazon store. I was live today on Amazon and I was sharing about this mic, and also I was sharing about this light which been shining in my face when I was talking about it. And so the products that you've probably seen me use from time to time, even stuff that I haven't used. My goal is to make sure that I'm sharing the information about those products. And the goal for our Amazon Live is that I share like the prices. I'll be more in depth. So like right now, I'm not going to tell you the price of this mic or the or the price of the light. No, I share all of that on Amazon Live. So this is just more informational. I share upcoming events and things like that. But on Amazon Live, I go all in the price points, the prices, what's cheaper, why I use certain things. I go more in depth with products. So for those who don't know, thank you for those who don't know. If you're looking for that, that part, you might as well subscribe on our Amazon because I really go in depth on that. The prices, the mics, the cameras, the computers, all of that is on our Amazon store and Amazon Live. So yeah. But anyway, let me go. I told you I was going to go, but this is it, guys. Share it with somebody who may need this. And for those who might need the podcast workshop on this Thursday, 6 o'clock, City of Savannah, Savannah Entrepreneur Center. Again, share it with them. Everyone have a happy Sunday. God bless y'all.